Good evening CUET aspirants and welcome back to yet another live from Hitbullseye. So I am your English teacher Sheetal, here standing again in front of you to talk about yet another topic. Yes, so we will yet talk about another important topic that was seen very commonly in CUET entrance exam this year. So we got to know that there were many questions from literary devices. So we have discussed literary devices in the previous and last to last class also. In the last to last live, we did discuss some of the important literary devices and their meanings with some examples. So if you remember, we discussed imagery, metaphor, simile, assonance, alliteration, hyperbole, euphemism, personification. So we have discussed many literary terms, but yes, there was a request from one of the students that we want to practice questions based on it. So today we will see how to deal with questions of literary devices and how to find out the right answer. So without any further ado, let's begin with today's live. Yes, everyone's favorite Harry Potter and a character from it. So this is in relevance to symbolism. In Harry Potter, what does snake symbolize? What does this person symbolize in Harry Potter? Think about it and drop in your answers in the chat box. So you remember the character? Severus Snape was his name in the Harry Potter series. The Snape has been twisted, but it is symbolizing snake. And what does a snake symbolize? A snake symbolizes evil, menace. Just as in Garden of Eden, the snake symbolized Satan, which is evil. Similarly, in this particular series, this person Severus, he symbolizes evil, menace. Right? I hope symbolism is quite clear with this example. Let's move on to the next one. Okay, you have a question in front of you. Which device has been used in this? An excerpt from a poem, a passage from a poem. His brown skin hung in strips. So when you are reading it, try to imagine it. Try to read it like a poet. His brown skin hung in strips like ancient wallpaper, and its pattern of darker brown was like wallpaper. Shapes like full-blown roses, stained and lost through age. So while we are reading these lines, doesn't something come in your mind? Doesn't some particular images come in your mind? In the poem, the poet is vividly explaining the outward features, the appearance of something. Right? Take your time, read it again, and then see the question. So this was an excerpt describing a fish. So this is the reason the stripes and the wallpaper stripes were mentioned. So it's for a fish. Now try and tell me what is the right literary device employed here. Let's see who's going to be the first one to give the answer. Is it simile? So simile and metaphor are both comparison. Are we comparing the fish with something? No, we are not. We are vividly giving different descriptions of it. Is it euphemism? Euphemism is using lighter or let's say better language to explain something that is otherwise harsh. So what are we left with? We are left with imagery. I told you vivid images has been employed by the poet. So the right answer is imagery. Okay, let's see the next one. We have to let you go, Tyler. So what can this convey? This is not a poem. This is nothing from prose poem. So what is it? A simple sentence. What does it convey? We have to let you go, Tyler. So the first person is saying, Tyler, that it was important that you go. What does it mean? Is it irony? Irony is something is said on the surface, but the reality, the depth reality, turns out to be something else. Is it understatement or hyperbole? Hyperbole is when you use pompous language to say something. You say it extravagantly, unnecessarily. So the right answer to this is, if you try to reframe it, we have to let you go, Tyler. We can also say it, Tyler, you have to go. And that sounds so rude and harsh. right? So do you remember I explained you in the last question? What device do we use to say something harsh in rather simpler words, lighter words? It is euphemism, using fancy, beautiful language, or let's say less harsh language to say something which otherwise sounds rude. Right answer is euphemism. Moving on to our third question, let's see, try your luck in this one. There's some water in the Atlantic Ocean. Is there some water in the Atlantic Ocean? Doesn't that sound strange? So is it understatement, simile, metaphor? Simile and metaphor are again comparison. We are not comparing Atlantic Ocean to anything else. Euphemism is using rather beautiful language, less harsh language. No, there is no such thing. We are left with understatement. So understatement is saying something in a demeaning way or reducing the effect of it, saying something which is very prominent but saying it in a very light way. So understatement is you are decreasing the importance of this statement. So when we say there is some water in Atlantic Ocean, we are degrading it. Rather, it is too much of water in Atlantic Ocean. So the right answer is understatement. See, it is that easy. Just read the question carefully, try to get the gist of it, then try to employ each of the following, each of the options on it, and then think about, can it be this one? Can it be this one? No. By elimination also you can reach to the right answer. And anyways, there are just few literary devices that usually are seen in the exam or seen from the examination point of view. Just go through the definition of all of these literary devices. If you want, you can go back to my previous videos where I have very explicitly explained all the literary devices, all the important ones. This will definitely help you. And then you can come back to this video and try to give the answers of these questions on your own. Right, with this, let's see the next one. Okay, quite a lengthy one. It is an excerpt from Tales of Wonder. Let's read it together. Evolution is a blind giant who rolls a snowball down a hill. The ball is made of flakes, circumstances. They contribute to the mass without knowing it. So two things are discussed here. Within the reading of first two lines, we got to know evolution has been talked about and something of snowball is talked about and explained. They adhere without intention and without foreseeing what is to result. When they see the result, they marvel at the monster ball and wonder how the contriving of it came to be originally thought out and planned. So try to imagine, try to vividly think of this image that they are using. A giant is rolling a snowball from the top of a mountain. Think about it yourself. What would happen to it by the time it reaches the lowest point? The size of it will keep increasing because more and more snow will be attached to it, right? Gathered around it. Similar is the case with evolution. So you never know where to stop. When you are evolving, when humankind or technology is evolving, we never know where to stop. We go on following this evolution. Whereas there was no such planning. So while the giant was rolling down that snowball, he did not think of the result. What would be the end result? So whereas there was no such planning, there was only a law. The ball once started, all the circumstances that happened to lie in its path would help to build it in spite of themselves. So everything that came across, that the ball came across, was just contriving to increase it without even knowing it. All right, a wonderful excerpt from Tales of Wonder. Now try to tell me what is the right answer. Is it analogy, irony, understatement, or hyperbole? I've already explained you what an irony is, what an understatement or hyperbole is. So guys, what is analogy? Analogy is drawing a similarity or comparison between two incongruous things, two otherwise different things. जब दो चीज़ों को जो बहुत ही अलग हैं उनके बीच में हम कुछ सिमिलैरिटी ढूंढते हैं तो उसे कहते हैं analogy ड्रॉ करना. तो यहाँ पर if you can see there is a prominent analogy used by Mark Twain. It is evolution has been compared to a snowball. Just as there is only a starting point for evolution and no ending point, we do not know the result of it. Similarly, a rolling snowball from the top of a hill is something of which we just know of the starting. We do not know the end result. So the right answer here is analogy. Okay, next question. Jimmy was sent to a correctional facility. What is correctional facility, guys? Think about it. Isn't that a fancy word? Correctional facility. Can it be substituted with some other original word? So there is no such thing as correctional facility. We rather can use, or the narrator or the speaker meant jail or prison or maybe a mental asylum, right? So for jail or prison, he's used correctional facility just not to harm the feelings of the listener. So what is it? Is it understatement? Is it simile, metaphor, or euphemism? Yes, again, it is euphemism. Euphemism is used to say something that sounds harsh in a way, in a very light-mannered way, in a less rude way. So this is again an example of euphemism. I am sure you are not going to forget euphemism now. Okay, moving on to this one. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east and Juliet is the sun. Read it again. What light through yonder window breaks? It is the east and Juliet is the west, is the sun. So we all know who Juliet is. I believe all of us know the story of Romeo and Juliet. This is a quotation from Romeo and Juliet, a dialogue from Romeo for Juliet, praising her beauty, that she's like a sun, giving the sunlight. What is the right answer to this one, guys? Let's see who's going to answer this one. It's okay, try your luck. It is a metaphor. So when there is a comparison between two things, one thing is compared to the other by using words like and as, it becomes a simile. But there is no like or as, there is a direct comparison. We are simply substituting Juliet and rather calling her sun. So it should be metaphor, a subtle comparison without using these words like and as. It cannot be personification. Personification is giving human attributes to something, some non-living thing, or maybe to some animal. But this is not personification, neither it is euphemism. I believe you are understanding, and I believe this is going to be helpful to you. Okay, let's move on to this one now. An anti-technology group sets up a website to recruit new club members. Think of this. Anti-technology group. What is it doing? Sets up a website. So something that is anti-technology, against the technology, why should it use a website? So using a website would be something contrary to their nature, the very essence of one such group, anti-technology. And that to hire more members. What are they doing? They are also using a website. That is what people also do. Technology is helpful to people. It gives you so many shortcuts to do your work. They are also using technology and they call themselves anti-technology. So what is it? On the surface it is something else and it turns out to be quite opposite. The literary device should be irony. Yes, there is no comparison. We cannot call it analogy. There is no understatement or hyperbole. It is irony. Yes, so that was all for today. We tried to almost talk about all the important literary terms. If you watch this video like 2 times, trust me, at least you will remember these literary devices. And if you like the video in any way, it serves to be helpful to you, please let us know in the chat box so that we can come up with more such examples and you can practice more and more. Until then, all the very best for your exam. Keep studying and keep smiling.